Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We are back with our Friday night special. I'm Gianni Battici, tonight's host, and I'm joined all the way from San Diego by regular co-host Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Yeah, I'm a bit of a different spot of the Airbnb today that I'm trying out. There's no light inside this Airbnb. It's really frustrating. So I've sitting as close to a window as I can because I've got some sort of natural light. I'm not trying to get this American flag in, I promise. It's just that this Airbnb seems to have American flags all over. Maybe every American house has American flags all over it. I don't know, but this one certainly has. But yeah, I'm good, mate. I went to watch Borussia Dortmund last night. That was a lot of fun.
Oh,
Yeah, so the local amateur team, the USL team, San Diego Loyal, they played at Snapdragon Stadium last night. They hosted Dortmund in a friendly, and Dortmund put out a really strong team. So it was good to see. Like they had Makoko, Adeyemi, Julian Brandt, Marco Reus, Emre Can. My big takeaway, mate, from it, Nicholas Sula
it's massive.
I mean, obviously we know this, but
Go on.
proper massive.
Yeah, it didn't look like a footballer.
No, not at all. I was like, who's that? And the bloke I was with was like, that's Nicholas Sula. I was like, no.
He's really quick. Isn't he quick when he gets going as well?
I don't know about that. He's not as slow as you'd imagine he would be, but
yeah, I mean, I bet he's so off the mark. But I think when he opens those legs, he's probably quite quick over 100
just
meters.
can't turn. I mean, we know this. We've seen him enough times, but oh man, it was so funny to say funny.
Look more like an American footballer.
Yeah, but he's obviously an extremely good footballer. So that was interesting. But it's a good game. Dortmund won 6-0. Marco Reus scored a lovely free kick. That's probably the highlight. But yeah, good night, mate.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad you're getting some football action in. Yeah, I feel like it's been ages since I watched a live game. I've still not watched a live game in pre-season. I've been watching all the highlights, and we've seen loads of the teams are in the US, and I've been watching the highlights in the last few days of we saw Arsenal score 5 goals against Barcelona. We've seen Chelsea continue their form. Brighton play tonight, I think. So yeah, my eyes are on. But so far from the pre-season scouting, when I'm looking at my FPL team, and you've all got triple Arsenal, I know you have. Triple Arsenal still feels the way to go. Brighton still feels like a team we should heavily invest in, double, if not triple, I'm thinking. I'm looking at ways of thinking, can I get João Pedro into my team? He's a 5.5 million forward, but it feels like, and we'll know more after tonight, feels like De Zerbi's building João Pedro up to kind of be the main man. Whether he's playing number 9 or 10, I think he's going to be a regular in terms of 90 minutes or certainly 70, 80 minutes. And Chelsea look good. Chelsea, I know we had Liv on last week, but we spoke a lot about Chelsea, but they do look good under Poch, didn't they?
What was the game last one?
They drew 1-1 with Newcastle. But for me, they dominated, and it was just Marc Cucurella being Marc Cucurella.
Oh yeah,
howling for the goal. Yeah. Chelsea are all over him, mate, and Ben Chilwell so attacking.
Yeah, I saw that. He was very unlucky, wasn't he? With that, the keeper pulled off a blinding save. Yeah, I've obviously got this dilemma that Liv was talking about, the Chilwell v Reece James thing. I have at the moment got Reece in.
He's captain. He captained the team as well,
mate. I called this. I wrote about this a month ago, saying Reece really is a strong candidate to be Chelsea captain for this season. Obviously, Thiago Silva's the obvious one you go to here. Is literally the most experienced. He's going to be there all the time. Should be captain really, but Reece is the one who's got the identity of Chelsea. They've lost identity, and that's if you can stay fit. And he was captain. It does give you that sort of look, and kind of like what Tottenham have done with Harry Kane. I don't think Harry Kane's a great chat. He's not that inspirational in terms of what he's shouting and saying. I don't think on the pitch. But when he's your poster boy, that's what you want, a poster boy now in football.
And Chelsea were going to do that with Mason Mount.
Yeah, they could have done that Mason Mount. But yeah, there's been a lot of good games on. I saw that Real Madrid Man United 1-2. Bellingham getting a banger. Yeah, that was a good game.
Looked good with his feet.
He did, yeah. I've seen a lot of people studying the Onana traits and how it's going to change. I mean, he was caught out. Did you think he was caught out a bit on that Real Madrid goal, or do you think he was just unlucky because of the defending?
I thought it was unlucky. I saw a couple of news reports saying he didn't have a good debut because the goals conceded and stuff. I'm like, I don't think he's at fault at all. But
yeah,
he did look so assured with his feet, and all FPL managers are looking at that going, "Oh, the bonus point system is going to be so good for Onana."
Yeah, maybe. Sorry, David's head is spinning right now because I'm on the left and you're on the right. This does happen occasionally. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, there you go, David. He's even dizzier now. He just watched that spin over. Um,
It's like when Ant and Dec stand the wrong way round.
oh,
Like,
mate, that's
that's a
mind
real,
blowing.
yeah. At least it's something different then. Head something. Yeah. And Anna takes Shaw's bonus away. Good point, Mark. Yeah, he absolutely will. Remember, bonus is all about competing with your teammates, and Anna and Shaw will be up against each other when United keep a clean sheet. Who gets them? And I think Shaw will need some attacking returns to beat him. A few questions in the chat about Jackson, because again, like we spoke to Liv about Chelsea forwards, and she rightly pointed out we hadn't seen Nkunku and Jackson playing as number 9 and 10. We'd seen them both playing as number 9s. Well, Poch did sort of hint that against Newcastle we would see it, and we did. We saw Nkunku 10, Jackson 9, and it looked good. It's gonna take some getting used to, but I think that's how Chelsea will start the season. And with that in mind, Jackson at 7 million playing as the number 9, the way he's playing pre-season, I think there'll be a little bit of love from an FPL perspective. Short and Kunku gives you minutes assurance, and he'll probably be on penalties. So I still would go on Kunku, but if you want to go really differential, a punt on Jackson isn't the worst idea either.
Yeah, and Kunku currently 18% owned, and Jackson is 7% owned.
Ooh.
So that's a massive difference right now. I have to say, Nicholas Jackson is winning me over with every performance so far. I was pretty doubtful of whether this guy's got the pedigree to carry Chelsea into a new season as the number 9. Has been fine in La Liga, but he's not exactly blown it apart. But he's got something about him. He's clearly hungry too. But his pace and his directness is going to cause some serious problems. So, yeah, I'm intrigued by that one. Actually, like I say, more than Nkunku. If I was going to pick one at the moment, I would be going Jackson.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought he was going to be sort of that young striker that we know has got a bit of pace and power that always wants to run in behind. But again, if something Liv mentioned, I think for the Mudryk goal in the game before, his hold-up plays actually looks really quite good for a young forward that's still quite gangly. It doesn't look he's not strong at all, but it doesn't look like that big target man number 9 that's going to be really good at hold-up. But he seems to be producing in that area too. So he's got a bit of everything. The other player to monitor, 6.5 million Mudryk, is having a good pre-season. I wonder if seeing Mudryk play with confidence, I think it's the first time we've seen it in a Chelsea shirt. And I wonder in game week 3 if he becomes a little bit of a bandwagon. If he does well in game 1 and 2, game week 3 when they have good fixtures, Mudryk at 6.5, because there'll be so many FPL managers on Matoma and Mbemo at the same price. It's a very easy switch.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been looking towards that actually early doors, thinking at the moment I'm planning to go Gabby Jesus as well, certainly for the first couple. I'm game week 3 would be a good week to change that. If Chelsea have got that home game against Luton, and I'm not totally won over, perhaps what I've seen with Gabby Jesus, I'd probably go Nicholas Jackson. But yeah, too with Mudryk, that I still think I'd be looking. I don't think I'll go Chelsea attacking assets those first 2 games still. Liverpool and West Ham, it just seems too much of a risk for me when there's much better options there. But if you can keep your transfers open and not make any in those first 2 weeks, and then you can get to game week 3 and then you've got a double to make, I think that's probably a good place to get to.
Yeah. Good to see some new faces around here, but he does say, look, guys, you're talking too much about Chelsea. Well, I'm sorry, Saya, that is completely my bad. Dean and I would very happily convert this to a Fulham and Chelsea podcast. But we often talk about teams, because they're our own, but also ones with FPL interests, historically, especially last season, Fulham, so many of us were in Andreas and Mitrovic owners. Chelsea this season, a pre-season, we should be talking about. We should owning 2 or 3 of their assets because they're affordable and they've got amazing fixtures. And under Poch, they're going to be decent.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest talking point coming into the season, Chelsea, in terms of FPL, because I think that they were a team we were all expecting to avoid. We didn't know what we were going to be getting, but the first signs are that there are people here to be paying attention to. So even if you weren't a Chelsea fan, I think that they would be a team that are worthy of it. We can move on, but we had to address Chelsea.
Mark Nash says, Bayer, 4 million centre-back for Burnley. When we're looking at the 4 million options, there's a few. He scored against Betis tonight. That's a nice sign, although centre-back goals are really hard to predict. Is worth noting, Luton have just bought a new right back. He's on loan from Man City. He played for Marseille last year. I can't remember his name, but I think he's the best 4 million option. So I'm going to get his name right now.
Right.
But he played, I think, 33 times for Marseille last year. He wasn't always in the 11, but he can play. He played both fullback and wing back because I think they mixed it up a little bit with back four, back five. So his name's Kabore. He's listed as a 4 million defender. He'll be Luton's first choice. Yeah, the chat are on it as well. They've just said Kabore. So he's going straight in my team. He hasn't got an amazing record for goals and assists, but he'll get forward. And the Luton manager's spoken really highly of him, like saying this is a real coup to get him. So I think he's become the standout 4 million option because he might offer a bit more attacking threat than the likes of Bell and Bayer and Baldock, who's not even nailed, and Sheffield United, I think, will be really poor.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Mark points out that Ryan Giles has just signed for Luton. Ryan Giles is definitely someone we should keep an eye out on for Luton. He played, I'm going to try and get his stats up now because I want to make sure I get them right.
He's not on FPL yet. That's annoying.
I want to make sure I get this guy's stats right because it's very interesting in terms of what he might be capable of. When he was on loan basically at Middlesbrough last season, from Wolves. Lost it for a second there. But Wolves, he came into pre-season. There was like a possibility. I think I mentioned him a few weeks back actually.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned him.
So actually, look up on Wolves. He should be on FPL because he was listed as a Wolves player. He must be on there.
Maybe he's listed as a Wolves player, or maybe because he hasn't played last season, they just haven't listed him because they didn't list Maatsen from Chelsea until today, even though he was playing for Burnley last year.
Oh, really? Oh, right. That's annoying. But yeah, so this guy plays like attacking fullback. Last season for Middlesbrough, he got 11 assists. Like he's proper like creator, like machine at putting crosses in. So if he's 4, it's 4.5, Mark says. That's a bit annoying. At 4.5, I'm not sure I'll be as tempted by it. If he's a 4, I'd say go there. But even at a 4.5, get him on your watch list because if he can have the same influence for Luton in the Premier League, which look, he might not, but at Middlesbrough, they were really, really hot on him, and he was a big creator for him.
Okay, nice to know. Good to know. Guys, a few mentioned, Leo's just mentioned Foden. Guys, in the chat, we read every comment. So thank you guys for contributing tonight. And if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. We do these streams every Monday and Friday. And Friday streams this season mean we're going to be looking at the community team. So we have built a chaser team and we'll have more on that later in the show. Friday also means polls. So we're going to have polls for that community team as we maybe tweak it a little bit. So we'll get your thoughts on that later. But today's show is all about drafts. So we'll get to that in just a sec. Before we do, let's look at Leo's comment on screen. Foden will play more, maybe think as a second striker. Yeah, he played in the preseason friendly in Japan a couple of days ago. Him and Haaland both came on and within minutes, he got an assist for Haaland. And I was like, straight away, you saw he came on for Grealish. And I was like, does that mean he's gone left wing? No, he didn't. He was playing in the Gundogan role, so a left centre mid. And then I think they played the Garcia out on the left wing, the Spanish left back. So I was like, this could be his route to the 11. Finally, we might just see it. Mahrez has gone today, though. So again, another route to the 11 for Foden is on the right-hand side. I think at 7.5, he's a great FPL asset this year.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, I have altered my team from the first draft, and it's Foden in, Grealish out. That is the change at the moment. Just had to make that switch. I just feel like at the moment, that's looking like it will be the better option. Foden going to get a lot of games, and I trust him. I really trust him.
Yeah, I think I do. And we also, guys, for those interested in Man City and Arsenal, we have the Community Shield. That is a really good scouting game for FPL because we get to know a little bit more about how these players are in terms of where they're at, where their teams are at, the form, the selection. Pre-season can be tricky to kind of negotiate and think, do we read too much into the results? We shouldn't do. Do we read into too much the starting 11s? We probably shouldn't do, because we get loads of players just getting 45. The Community Shield is taking that a little bit more seriously, and we'll get to know. For example, I want to know that Arsenal midfield 3. I want to know that Man City front 3. And those questions might be answered in the Community Shield. They might not be, but we'll be that little bit closer.
Yeah, what are you thinking on Arsenal at the moment? I mean, obviously they had that very competitive game against Barcelona, and they've won it. There's just something bothering me about Arsenal at the moment. I don't know what it is even, but I'm really keeping my options open about which assets beyond Saka I actually want.
Yeah.
I think this is such a big season. They've got such expectation and pressure on them now to achieve, and Arteta seems so anxious to prove that they're going to do it again. There's such a fine line there between things going great and things just falling apart. Like trying to integrate Declan Rice and stuff. It could be fine. I could be totally wrong to even be questioning this. There's just part of me that's niggling away. I guess they're helped by the fact they've got a very nice fixture list. That's probably one thing helping us pick their players for now. Saya says Trossard to replace Martinelli and stuff. I mean, Trossard, he has obviously done well, especially in that game the other day. But this is just a prime example of reading too much into pre-season. Trossard is not going to replace Martinelli at the start of next season. I just can't believe that.
Yeah, not a chance. Doesn't matter how well he does against Barcelona. He scored a brace and he was brilliant. No, Martinelli is in that 11, guys. So don't be put off from picking him. Don't pick him for many reasons. Not starting game week 1 is just simply not going to happen. I will eat my hat if Martinelli doesn't start a game week 1, guys. If he's fit, he starts. But my thing with Arsenal, mate, is they are amazing when the pressure's off, because they're a young side that will all-out attack, and they can be flat-track bullies against weaker opposition. I remember game week 38 last year, final day of the season. Everyone's buying Harry Kane, rightly so, because he went and smashed it against Leeds. And I remember saying to you, no, I'm thinking about going Jesus. And it was like, bonkers, why are you going Jesus and captaining him? Now, sure, I think Kane did outscore Jesus, but Jesus got something like 18 points. I knew they were going to go and beat Wolves 5-0. It was so obvious. And again, because the title was over, they can play with freedom. They're playing a weak team. We'll see it at the start of the season, just like we saw at the start of last season. They'll be really impressive from the off. The thing with Arsenal is what happens to them in April, what happens to them before that, even around the Champions League fixtures. But for the first few weeks, when the fixtures are easy, the weather's good, the atmosphere in the stadium's great, they've had a good pre-season. They've just got 5 goals against Barcelona, who were one of the meanest defences in Europe last season. I know it's pre-season, but still, it's 5 goals against Barcelona. They're going to smash their first 3 games, guys, which is why I'm currently on triple Arsenal attack. I do think they'll keep a clean sheet or 2, and Gabriel is a great pick. But I want more tickets to the draw. Martinelli, Saka, and Jesus will be the front 3 game week 1. And if they do go and win 5-0, and I've got all 3 of them, I've got way more bites of the cherry for 15 pointers from my players than you might have if you have a Gabriel, or you're going outside of that and buying a non-Arsenal midfielder for 7-8 million.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that a lot. Kai says, we didn't lose the league because of pressure. We lost it because of Saliba and depth. We now have that. Yeah, a bit of both. I don't think you can totally dispel the fact that they did crumble a bit due to the pressure. But yeah, of course, you didn't have this. You weren't expecting to be in a title race last season. So you didn't have the squad prepared well enough for those tough moments, and having to bring in Rob Holding for a game against Man City, obviously is far from ideal. But what I would say is you also had the benefit of a team riding the crest of a wave, because you weren't expected to be there. When you got there, you were just able to ride that momentum, and teams really found it difficult to struggle with what Arsenal built last season. Next season, that's not going to be the case. Arsenal are going to have a plan B, maybe a plan C as well, for how they're going to play, because teams have now watched the tape from the last season. They've figured out the structure of play. And now that's why Arsenal are making these small changes, and they will continue to do that with the use of Declan Rice to make sure that they're not one-dimensional. Not that they were one-dimensional, but their patterns of play can be varied a little bit more.
Yeah, totally agree on that. Look, let's have a look at some of your drafts. I just want to mention Saka. We've all got him because he's on pens. I'm just looking at the chat, and you're right to consider Odegaard and Martinelli. We've all got Saka because he's amazing, star boy, also on pens. Worth noting against Barcelona, he missed a pen and he also missed his last Arsenal pen in a competitive game.
Mate.
So he's missed the last 2 pens. Now, Jorginho's in that squad. Havertz is in that squad. Jesus and Martinelli might fancy themselves. It is no guarantee. I think he will be, but if he misses another one, I think he'll be off them.
It was a horrible penalty.
So far wide.
It was terrible. I'm so surprised. Like I was watching highlights. I had no idea actually how the game had turned out. I sat with my 5-year-old and like he was like, "Oh, is Saka good?" I was like, "Saka's brilliant." Yeah, he's like, "Will he? Do you think he'll score this penalty?" I was like, "There is no doubt Saka scores this penalty." I was like, "Wow, that was dreadful."
Yeah.
I know nothing about football. Sorry, Dylan.
He looked really annoyed at himself as well. Like, well, you would be, but it was like
is he trying to be too clever and like stick it like right in the corner or something? I don't know.
Don't know. When you've got Jorginho, I mean, Jorginho's rarely in the 11, so I guess. But for me, if they're both on the pitch together now, I wouldn't be surprised if Georgie steps up. But let's have a look at your drafts, guys. We said we would, so we're going to do some quick fire reviews of your drafts up next in Pimp My Team. Here we go. I'm just going to ask our producer to let us know in the chat, Faz, how many shall we get through in the next 20 minutes, 15 minutes till we do the ultimate team, chaser team. So we'll know how quick to go on these. But this looks good, Dean, this team from Gwen Beast 10.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd still be going with Pickford at this point. I think that's probably one that's jumped out at me straight away. I don't really like Pickford anymore as a goalkeeper pick because I just don't think. I just think there are too many good options. But I guess if you do want a 4.5, then I guess it's the place to go. But apart from that, like I'm not really seeing anything I don't like. That's the only thing jumping out at me. Trent, I'd say still keep an eye on it. Like watch Liverpool closely and see if you really feel like you're going to get value out of Trent at 8 million. My hunch is you might not, because if he's playing differently, if he ends up playing as a DM, that creativity might not be there. It might be that he's playing defense splitting passes that are like bypassing everyone into the final third. So maybe, but I'd be a little bit wary of Trent at 8. And Ciso is a brave one, but a good one. Cody Gakpo is a midfielder at the moment.
He's got 2 million in the bank here, Dean. Like you could have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you could do, Mbeumo or Enciso or Hakpo could have massive upgrades. So they're the 3 weak spots. Enciso, Hakpo, and Mbeumo, Brentford have lost every game, I think, in the US. They're not looking great. Without Tony, remember, I wonder if Tottenham at home, I think the Spurs will be good. I think that could be a draw. I think Fulham at the Cottage will be difficult. And then Palace at home, the fixtures are all right, but Brentford
I would leave it. I would leave him, Mbeumo. I said it from day one. Like I feel like he's just a bandwagon pick at the moment. Like there's no way that those 26% of people are like watched Mbeumo closely over the past year and feel like totally convinced that he's the answer to Brentford's striking problems. It's just a narrative that's gathered momentum. He could definitely have goal potential. But Brentford could also have a bad start to the season. This might be a bad season for Brentford. We don't know yet. Like they might have gone as far as they can go in this league. There is a possibility of that the things could start to fall apart this season without Tony. So and Mbeumo definitely one to consider. But I think if you look at it, your forwards like Archer, who's not going to play, so you're going to get nothing out of that 4.5 anyway. You've got the Haaland factor, like Hakpo. I don't know. I just don't feel like that's the best use of that third striker spot. Even if you look for somebody else around that price point, I think you could find somebody that might give you a bit more, goal potential at that value. And then it's up to you. If you want to go bigger than that, then you can. But I just don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's got that many goals in him early on.
I think if you're going Brentford, like 6 million Visser playing as the number 9. Listed as a forward, sure, but saved a 0.5. I'd be tempted on Visser. He's been getting the chances. He did it at the post, Ellis says. A suggestion in the chat from Ryan isn't a bad one. Hakpo to Jackson and then Enciso to Martinelli. Remember, this is a draft with only 2 Arsenal, not 3 Arsenal.
I think that is a massive upgrade on that team.
Yeah, good suggestion, that, Ryan.
I do like that one a lot. Yeah, I think that's good.
Let's move on. I'll give that a 6.5. What do you reckon, Dean?
Yeah, I'd say it's about 6.5, 7. Yeah.
Okay, Gavin's gone 2 4.5 keepers, so I'm guessing Leno and Flecken rotate quite well. That's fair enough. I do think with Onana in the game, guys,
No, this is
just go Onana and Areola. Like you've got in two
Yeah, I've got
starting
that.
keepers because
Yeah.
Areola's been starting in pre-season, and it's the same spend as the 2.4.5s. And Onana, United kept more clean sheets last season than any other team, 18 clean sheets. To put that into perspective, I think that was like 3 or 4 clear of even Man City and Newcastle. Declan Rice is an interesting one. But for 5.5, maybe
I don't mind it. Yeah.
maybe you get the oddest. You know, they will score goals,
I
Arsenal.
like
But
this team, to be honest. It's a bit
hold
different.
up, that's 4 Arsenal assets.
Eh? How's he? Why?
Gabriel, Rice, Saka, and Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, that must have been when he was at West Ham. So I'll assume
That's
that.
glitched up. That is
Yeah,
glitched up. Yeah.
you
You're not getting
made
away with
this
this
early.
one, Gav.
Also, Gavin, a good point from Mark in the chat. Why would you start Rice over Nkunku or Reece James? Fair point. Do you know what? We'll move
He's
off
playing
this
Forest
draft.
and not Liverpool, probably.
This draft, you haven't spent enough time to thinking about this draft, guys. If you've gone Rice over Nkunku or James, so look, we'll move on to the next one. Dutton Oliver, another Pickford Areola combination. Maybe again, this is an early draft before Onana came in, but Luke Shaw, I reckon this is a United fan, Dean. Triple United.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, I mean, from what we've seen so far in pre-season, I wouldn't be going triple United. I've got faith in them having a good season. Obviously, like these are 3 big assets in the game anyway. But I just think that you're holding yourself back by picking Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. I don't think there's any need to be picking both of those players and missing out on players from elsewhere. Like there's no Man City midfielder in there, and given that they've got Burnley and Sheffield United early doors, like that's a really risky strategy. Yeah, I'd say that's probably where I'd be going. Like, there's not really any need to have 2 Man City defenders that you're not going to be using.
Yeah,
That's
too much money on the bench. In a way.
there's too much money on the bench.
I think you go for Chelsea, you get Chilwell in for an upside pick, or someone like Pedro Porro could be more fun than double City. But the Bruno Rashford one is interesting. I'm with you, Dean. I haven't considered the double up there at all. I have seen a few doing it, and I completely understand in a way why, if you're thinking maybe just for the short term, because when you look at those first 3 fixtures, and we can see them on the graphic, Wolves and Forest at Old Trafford, a bit like I just spoke about Arsenal 10 minutes ago with having bites at the cherry with the potential 5-0ers. Rashford and Bruno could be involved there for Wolves and Forest fixtures in a 4-5-0. I'm not sure United have quite got that in their locker early on. I don't think I've seen enough from them pre-season. This is why pre-season scouting is important. I still think until they have that fixed number 9 and that setup in place, Sancho's been playing there. So I don't back them in the same way I back Arsenal, Brighton and Man City to score big goals and win games 4 or 5. But maybe as a United fan, Dutton Oliver is thinking those fixtures are there to be got at, and he's got a point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a risky team, especially like going Odegaard over Saka, as well as the Rashford Bruno double up. You're just missing so many players here that other people have got. There's just probably too many missing. I like the fact it's different, but if this was me, I'd be terrified going into game week 1 that I was about to get left behind.
Yeah, fair. I'll give that a CH. I'm going to go with CH. I'm agreeing with that. A 7.27.
I go 6.9.
There we go. So a little bit better than the last one. Let's move on. Guys, thank you in the chat. We're reading every comment. It's been great to have you this Friday night. We'll get to the community team in 5 minutes, so do not go anywhere. Also, 47 likes is a little bit disappointing when 200 of you are watching. So if you fancy
is this true? So in the chat, they're talking about Declan Rice. Stuart says you can start with 4 Arsenal if you got Rice in before he moved clubs. Barry says you can't. FPL will change it if you get to that stage. And he says Stuart says that's not true. Suggesting like you can stick with the Arsenal 4 until you take one of them out.
I don't know the answer. I would be
quite
surprised
smart. If you've managed to sneak Rice in and you can keep him as an Arsenal, keep 4 Arsenal assets all season. I'd be surprised if FPL.
I do have a feeling though that you might be right and you have him until you transfer him out, and then obviously you can't get a 4th Arsenal in as a swap for Rice. But I think I have seen that before. Now you say it,
See
But
if
yeah,
anyone in the comment, if you can back up either of those arguments, let us know. If you,
screen grab your team.
yeah, it's because that's really interesting.
I like this draft straight away. This draft straight away, I look at it and go, slimline bench, good sub one, but slimline bench. The right goalkeepers in play, but also heavily invested in the teams that we can rely on. Triple Brighton, you don't see that much, but I like it. Triple Arsenal, triple Man City, and a United player, 2 United players. That 11 is built on 4 clubs. Now, you could say that's too many eggs in one basket, but I don't think it is when you look at the fixtures early on for those 4 clubs. Now, sure, you should look at Spurs and Liverpool and Chelsea, but for the time being, I think you can get away without looking at those teams. And I really like this draft. There's $1 million in the bank. I think Ferguson could be a minutes risk. I don't know it will be Ferguson or Welbeck or João Pedro in the 9, but I think it's likely to be Pedro 10, Ferguson 9 to start the season.
Okay.
But you could get he does love Welbeck to Zerbi.
Yeah,
but other than that, it's
a belting team. Yeah,
a good sub as well if you need him.
It's a lovely team. Like, it's done a really good job of putting this together. It seems really well thought out too. Like, I really like the picks from the clubs he's chosen as well. I think this is it's probably like a 9 out of 10 from me, to be honest. I really can barely fault it. Sorry, to go back to the Arsenal discussion for one moment. Al Capul says you can start with 4 Arsenal, but your first transfer would have to be one of the Arsenal players to get out of there.
Interesting.
Which
you have to make that transfer. Wow.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you've got to stick with no transfers for a long time or get Declan Rice out of there within 2 weeks. So probably not worth it in the long run.
$1 million in the bank. I wonder if you go Ferguson down to João Pedro, because I think if you're looking at minutes risks, like you go João Pedro, maybe get more minutes than Ferguson. Friendly tonight will help us, by the way. I'm adding up all the minutes for all the Brighton players to see, but I think João Pedro's had a lot more than Ferguson. And then you've got 1.5 in the bank. Now, with 1.5, there's a big upgrade there for one of your players if you want them. I would probably upgrade a Gabriel to a Chilwell, and then you'd get $1 million still in the bank to play with if and when you need it. You could even go Foden to Martinelli. But I do like the Foden shout as well.
Yeah, that
good team. I'll go 9 as well.
That midfield is great. I like it a lot. I think it's really, it's a bit different. I don't know why it feels different.
It's the formation. Most have got a 5-man midfield.
Yeah.
This is a front 3, which I like because there's Danjuma at 5.5, there's João Pedro at 5.5, Ferguson at 6, Visser at 6. There are good third striker options now. And whilst we were all going, let's just go Haaland and an 8 million forward and Kunku or Jesus, 7.5 and Kunku. To go 3, I think there's a real argument to go 3-4-3 now. I'm looking at it myself because I do think at points we might want to jump on a Danjuma starting every game for Everton or a Ferguson or a Visser. Worth considering. Yeah, CH has said 8.94.
I just realised why I like the team. It's very similar to mine. I'm just looking now. If I was actually to make a sub and bring Ferguson into my team, then the front 7 is actually identical to my team.
There you go.
I've currently got on my screen. No wonder I like it.
Cool. Let's get through a few more if we can. We'll spend 2-3 minutes on this. Let's see if we can do 3 more, shall we? We'll do a minute on each. Let us know in the chat. I think Matt then said 69 out of 100. That's quite funny. Oh, we've got some Spurs love. Double Spurs midfield. Woo. Do you know what? If Harry Kane goes, mate, I think Richarlison at 7 million is the Spurs pick. Yeah, he scored a hat-trick for Spurs the other day. And the manager said, he really likes his positioning. What he needs, Postecoglou, is a bit of a old school centre forward, a tap-in merchant, and I think Richarlison is happy to play that role. Does for Brazil. But I don't know. I don't know about this team. I think Alvarez up front and Haaland is really risky. I just don't see Alvarez as a starter, even with Mahrez going. Alvarez hasn't really played wide right. I think with Gundogan going, it's Foden, not Alvarez in this team. And if De Bruyne was injured, maybe, but De Bruyne is back fit, supposedly.
Yeah, I can see what he's doing, though, because you've always got a City striker on the pitch. There's always going to be Haaland or Alvarez on there to eat up the chances. It is annoying sometimes when Haaland's brought off early and City are battering someone. So he is opening himself up there for especially that Burnley game, first day of the season. Say Haaland plays an hour, the game's won, they're 3-0 up, and then Alvarez comes on for the last half hour against a Burnley team that are reeling a bit on the first day, and he gets a couple himself. He might might have 4 goals from that front line. So I can actually see the logic behind it. I don't hate that. Son and Maddison, I do hate. I'm sorry. I can't have it. I just
don't mind
can't.
if you take a punt on one, but to go both is
To
like...
go both is too bold. It's like we have no idea what we're getting out of Tottenham at the start of this season. Their defence is still broken as it stands. We'd have no foundation behind them. We don't know for sure what's going on in Kane's head, or how he's going to get going, if he's even there. Who would you pick out if you had to take one of Son or Maddison? Which one do you think you'd go?
I'd find the money and go Son. Like, you've got the money here clearly, but I just think Son is a bit more reliable in terms of we know what we're getting in a Spurs shirt. Maddison was so bad for the run-in, and in pre-season he's not good. I'm surprised Maddison's 14% owned. I really am. Like, I think
there are so many options at 7.5 that are more proven in recent times, I think, and have not just transferred clubs, that I just don't think that is worthwhile. I really don't. So that's probably my big... I don't like the goalkeepers either. I don't like that rotation of Flecken and Areola. I think that's leaving you a bit susceptible to too many points lost.
Yeah. I agree with that. Guys, we are going to move on. But before we do, loads of you sent in teams on Twitter. So we're only able to use, what have we showed you, 5 tonight. So when we posted on Twitter that we were doing on the Chasing Green Arrows Twitter page, drafts, loads of you sort of posted screenshots of your drafts. So if we haven't spoken about those 5, or even if right now you're thinking, maybe I want Gianni and Dean to rate it, feel free to screen grab your team and put it on our tweet. And our producer has kindly offered to go through and give you guys a little bit of a steer as to what we might be thinking and what he likes and dislikes. I will also make sure I have a scan through and get back to some of you. Can't promise it'll be all, with my 2 pence worth as well. So find the Chasing Green Arrows tweet, screen grab, and feel free to comment on that post. And that's not just for you guys in the chat. That's for anyone watching on catch up as well.
Yeah. Just with some news that Fabrizio saying now that Fabinho's deal to Saudi Arabia is all done on a 3-year deal. Mate, I am...
Has he put the dog down, has he?
Yeah. I am concerned about what Liverpool are doing here. Like, losing Fabinho and Henderson, I think is an underrated bad call. Like, I know they haven't had loads of say in this. Like, the players' heads have been turned to, and they've picked up 50-odd million that are players that they weren't sure what the future was going to be for them long term. But I'm just now looking at Liverpool's midfield, just feeling like it's a bit vulnerable. I'm just a bit concerned now about...
It's the lack of leadership as well. Like, you could say, the legs have gone. I think Mark's just said that in the chat, but it's way more... Firstly, I don't think the legs have gone.
That's just a saying. Like, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like, Fabinho's legs haven't gone. Like,
he's only like 29, any Fabinho.
Like, I just don't understand what people are talking about. I think Fabinho is such
a Brazil team
better player than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
It just feels, like a Twitter narrative or something that everybody's like grabbing hold of. I'm just trying to check his age.
It's like the Martinelli is a rotation risk. It's one of those. It's like, he's not. His legs haven't gone. Like, Liverpool are meant to improve in the midfield. That didn't mean sell the midfielders and replace them. It meant we need more numbers and better numbers and more options. But to lose 2 of your first choice of midfield 3, it's high risk.
Yeah, and Fabinho, like, he didn't even begin that early. I think when he was Real Madrid to Monaco, it was about 10 years ago. So he'd have been, about 20, something like that. So it's not like he's been playing at the, we sometimes talk about players like, say, Varane, like he's got rings in his legs, like an old tree, because he's been playing since 16 or whatever. So he's still young, but in actual age terms, but in football terms, he's probably 35. But that's not really... I don't get that with Fabinho.
It's that and the body shape. That's the other one, because you look at players like Wayne Rooney, you're like, he just never really had the body shape to be able to play at 38.
No, yeah, you look at him
now. But Fabinho, he's got the body shape. He's looking good. He's athletic,
Yeah,
Mark says he disagrees with us both.
It's putting me off Liverpool massively. Earlier in the season, I still think Liverpool are in for a much better season than last year. But I haven't got any Liverpool players in my draft at the moment because I want to see how they start the season.
Oh, the chat. Fair enough. We appreciate the chat's comments. Like, it's completely subjective. Thomas and Mark in agreement. And Saya says he had a poor season. 40 million is good business. No one's doubting that it's a good price to get for him. It's more, should Liverpool be selling full stop? And who are they bringing in to replace? But we'll find out. Look, we've got 10 minutes left. Let's do and have a look at this community team because we want your input in this. Let's create an 11 that might even win FPL. Imagine
Come on,
that.
let's
We had
win
Ali,
it.
a chaser last year, win FPL, and this year could be all of you lot collectively winning. So it's going to be technically for the FPL rules, it's going to be our producers team because we're not allowed second teams and we don't have our team kicked out. But our producer will be heavily influenced by our picks, i.e., he'll be listening to what you guys tell him. So without further ado, tips and chips up next with the chaser team. We've said, Dean, that we can't, if someone's already had the poll against them, like a do we sell this player, yes or no, we can't then poll again. So the likes of, I think, Anana are pretty safe because we did the whole Pickford or Anana
Oh,
thing.
yeah, of course. Yeah, so I've got to give Frederick a shout first. He says, sorry, I'm late. I've just got back with my girlfriend. She did not miss these videos.
Hey, Frederick's GF.
Welcome back, Fred.
Oh wow, this guys, the preseason hype, sometimes we can get a little bit caught up in it. Matty, this is a prime example, and I love you, Matty R. But Matoma minutes risk now because Adingra played well in a preseason friendly and scored a couple of goals. Adingra, the guy that was seen as not good enough to be in the squad last year, so sent out on loan. Adingra that might be held by De Zerbi and used as an impact sub every 5 games, maybe. This guy ain't going to eat into Matoma minutes. When we're talking about Premier League, we talk about very different looking teams to what we see pre-season. Matoma's safe. He's one of Brighton's talisman. De Zerbi literally said the other day in a press conference, Matoma and March should be looking at 15, 20 goals. And the wide forwards in the Brighton system we saw from last season are a massive goal threat. And Matoma and March absolutely are safe for minutes. So don't worry too much about one player you've never heard of doing well in one pre-season game.
No. Yeah, I mean, you've summed that up absolutely perfectly. Get said, is this the team for the season or is this a draft? This is the team that you're currently starting the season with. Yeah, this is going to be the team. We'll make a couple of alterations probably before we get to August 11. But yeah, I mean, this is largely the team that we are going with on behalf of you guys that you voted for.
We polled every position, didn't we? And we even polled, I think the last change, we'd said, do we go Arsenal triple attack? Or do we go with one Arsenal defender? And we had Gabriel in and we swapped him for Martinelli and then we swapped the keeper. So yeah, we've done loads of tweaks.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are we tweaking today though? Like what are the suggestions in the chat? Like Jesus?
People are saying Jesus again. There's a few that are like shorter stones.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Short out, Paolo.
But yeah, the shorter stones one I don't mind, especially now we've got this Onana conundrum with like if he's going to take some of his bonus points, like we don't want both of those and that's a fair one. So I think let's put a few players on the line. Like let's get one out today, or potentially out. Like Shaw
or Stones. Should we do it? Start with that one?
Shaw or Stones. Let's do it as that. Yeah, let's do it.
A few pointing out that we should be starting Onana. That is a fair point.
We will be starting Onana. We will be starting Onana. Don't worry about that. We'll pick the team on a weekly basis, guys. So like this is not the starting lineup. Obviously, we'll pick the formation and stuff once we get to there. So just look at the overall squad for now.
And you guys will be picking captaincy each Friday as well. That'll be loads of fun. I think the chat are going to go against Haaland loads because for their own team, they're going to captain Haaland. But then if we go, look, Haaland or Saka, who's got Forest at home, I think the chat will be like, it's my second team. So I'm going to go off Haaland. We can take some risks. Loads of fun.
Yep. I think so.
I'm looking forward to that. I don't think we can poll Foden, mate. I think we did him last show and we said something like Foden survived this, so we've got to give him a few weeks off.
True.
Who are you voting for, Shaw or Stones? I'm going to vote for a Man City defender, Stones, because they are... I know United kept the most clean sheets last year, but City are clearly the best defence.
Yeah, honestly, I don't like the idea of having Onana and Shaw early doors because... I don't know what we're getting. Like the Wolves and Forest games, like they are potentially both clean sheets. So I can see like why there would be an upside to this. But nah, this Man United team is going to take a little while to gel, I think. I'm going to vote Stones as well. Like looking at their fixtures, knowing that Stones is definitely playing, covering that because we don't have any cover at the moment for City clean sheets.
Yeah.
And Burnley, Sheffield United should be clean sheets for Man City. So yeah, I think I'll be going for Stones when we do this vote. Yeah, but don't let me affect you, people. Like be your own people, be your own man or lady. Let's get that.
Mate, if we put
going.
Stones in this 11, it's the same 11 as me.
Oh no!
I've just checked. It's the same
No
11 as
way.
me. Yeah. The only difference, my bench is different. I've got Colwill instead of Botman. I don't have Bayer. I've got the Luton right back. But other than that, it's literally my 11, which is hilarious because we've made so many changes, and I haven't been making changes, but we've been making changes to my 11. That's cool though. I'm happy. I'm sure it'll be different to my 11 come game week 1.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's interesting that it's headed in that direction with you hosting.
Yeah.
Right?
Nkunku over Jesus, there's been a few saying about Nkunku or even just Jesus going.
Didn't we vote for Jesus as well though recently?
Mark, it doesn't make it template because this team ain't template. Like, I don't think Chilwell's in the template. No. I don't think triple Arsenal attack is template at all. And I don't think Foden's template. So yeah, I'm not sure it is template FC at all.
No, we've got to give ourselves a chance as well. Like we can't go too off piece here. Like we're not going to be silly.
We're going to win it.
Yeah, I mean, people still don't like Jesus overall, but didn't he edge it? Like, didn't the Jesus vote go like 52-48 or something in the end, and he saved himself?
Oh yeah, I feel like he's been on the chopping block.
Something like that, wasn't it? So Jesus is staying, people. Like, maybe we'll do a vote nearer the time on Jesus, but I think he's staying for now.
The ownership is important, and looking at the ownership, Chilwell 6.3%, Foden 13%, Martinelli's in 14% of teams, whilst most have an Arsenal defender. Luke Shaw, we've just sold for 33% owned to Stones, who's what, 20-25% owned. So yeah. I feel like I take offense at the template tag.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Mark says Jesus was the Brexit poll result. Mark, you're very combative today. You're very
he is. He's on one. He's usually so friendly, Mark. Yeah, Haley's made a good point. Stones in for Jesus. Stones in. Jesus can leave it a couple of weeks. You're right. We don't need to make, unless you guys are all going to tell us the same thing. I think that change might be sufficient. Maybe we change the bench, but we can improve that bench rather than even poll. I'm going to suggest that we. Let's leave the bench as it is. Otherwise, it does become my team.
Yeah, Dragon says Matoma out. He's been rubbish in pre-season. Come on.
We can do a Matoma out poll, couldn't we?
Yes or no? But, I mean, it's going to be silly, but we can. If people really want to get Matoma out of this team, then we absolutely can.
We won't give you a direct replacement. We'll just say Matoma, yes or no.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do a Matoma, yes or no, because I am intrigued by it.
That's harsh. And I wouldn't worry too much about pre-season. He's had like a couple of games. He's probably only had lots of 45. He's not even played like a 90-minute football match.
Yeah. It's just so early to be judging player performances. Like, they're just focusing on fitness and getting back into the structure of a team at the moment. Like, individual performances are just not... You shouldn't really be judging them. Matoma out of the chase at 11. Vote now.
So you vote no if you want to keep him.
Yeah, no to keep him. At the moment, he's staying. He's got 62% of the vote. So,
phew.
Yeah, it looks like he's staying. But this is an interesting one because Chicanio says Mitoma to Diaby. I do like the Diaby call.
He scored the other day.
Diaby. Like, this is one that I think is going to get into my head a bit more. He scored the other day. He's so good. I haven't watched him like enough yet. Like I saw brief highlights of the Villa game the other day, so I can't really judge. I think he only played the second half too. But when we get nearer the time, we should probably poll Diaby.
That's a fair point. And he'll probably score again pre-season. It's funny. I keep going, don't forget about pre-season form. Matoma, it's fine. He's not done much. And then someone mentions Diaby and I'm like, yeah, he scored in a friendly today.
But as a new player and a new team, you do want to see that, obviously. Like, we know what Matoma's done over a long period of time for Brighton. And I'm confident that he will be back in that position, back in that role, like will continue where he left off. But it's a bit different when someone new comes into the league and straight away they're into the right positions and scoring, because you're like, oh, how good a Villa are about to become.
Yeah. And under Emery, like we know they've been. I don't know if we've got the fixtures we can show for the first 6 game weeks. If we have, we can have a quick look on screen at the Villa fixtures. If not, no biggie. But I'm keen to have a look at those Villa fixtures. I feel like that bottom half of the ticker off the top of my head. But yeah, it doesn't matter really under Emery at home, especially. Like you still fancy them to score goals. Here we go.
Yeah, they've
Thought we
got
might
a few
have it.
tough ones. Yeah.
So they're just below Bournemouth there. So Newcastle away, fine. But Everton at home and Burnley away, like that could be, I'm always looking with FPL, especially when buying attacking players, the games in which you can see score lines of above 2 goals scored. So will Villa score more than 2 goals? My question for if I'm looking at bringing in Diaby, do I think they can score more than 2 goals in any of those first 6? And you'd say for at least 3 of them, Palace, Burnley and Everton, yeah, they can.
Yeah, I don't love the fact they've only got 2 home games.
Good point.
In those 6. Like 1 home game in the first 4 is a bit off-putting, to be honest.
Oh, that's unlucky, that is. There can't be too many teams with 1 in 4.
That's not ideal, to be honest, especially Newcastle, Liverpool being 2 of them, and then the other one, Burnley, who will want, they want to make that where they get all their points across the season. The Claret Derby might be a place where they look to pick up some early points. So, that has put me off Diaby potentially. I might wait and see if like around that Crystal Palace game or something, like if Diaby's been showing some good signs, like maybe around then is where I might look to get him. But yeah, interesting one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and those tricky fixtures at the start means they're going to be waves where, and I think from maybe game weeks 8 off the top of my head, Villa have a really nice run and they'll probably have a ton of greens and a ton of homes. And then by then we would have watched Diaby as well. And by the way, like Villa attack looked really good in a pre-season friendly the other day. They drew 3-3. I can't remember. It was against a Premier League team. Whoever it was, they were the much better team, Villa. And yeah, 3 goals. Buendia was amazing.
Yeah, I watched
was
that.
It Brentford? No, it wasn't Fulham.
No, it wasn't Brentford. Was it Newcastle?
Oh, it might be Newcastle, maybe.
I think it was Newcastle.
Yeah, it was Newcastle. Mark's on fire.
Yeah, Mark doesn't miss a beat, mate. But yeah, Villa's fixtures after what we can see here do look a little kinder in terms of getting Diaby in. So I think a good strategy there to kind of highlight game week 5 and Crystal Palace at home for potentially starting to look at Villa assets a bit harder, because they've got a few nice games after that I think they'll pick up points in if it heads in the direction we would expect.
Our chat's amazing. Luke and Haley also with that Newcastle shout straight away. The knowledge of our chaser team. Dean, we're going to win FPL, mate.
Mate, but honestly, between like the 200 odd people that are on this show every single week, we really could. Like, we've got 200 FPL brains picking one team.
And it's going to be a team that will back against Haaland, which is the right thing to do, but we're always too scared to do it ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ali's not actually here at the moment, but I'd like to think once the season's going too, we'll have the reigning champ helping us pick our team.
Definitely. He'll join some of our deadline streams for sure, won't he?
Mate, we are massive.
Yeah.
We are massive.
Guys, if you fancy liking and subscribing, that'd be amazing. If you want to tell your friends about Chasing Green Arrows, we'd love to have them join the Chaser community. So any retweets or shares on Instagram, Chasing Green Arrows are on Insta as well, by the way, not just Twitter. That'd be much appreciated. Share it in your WhatsApp groups. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. We will see you on Monday, as always. Dean and I will be back with some cool topical debate as always for you. But for now, he's been Dean, I've been Gianni, and we've been Chasing Green Arrows. Good night, guys.